It is the 20th anniversary of Colorlines.
Colorlines has been around for 20 years through some of our most pivotal racial justice moments.
The reality is that America's changed, and yet journalism hasn't kept up. And so Colorlines fills the gap between the new America and the kind of stories that need to be told that are often kept suppressed.
Journalism is very important to us, its tenets are, but at the same time we understand that systemic racism affects every aspect of how we cover things and that we need to be sensitive and caring of the folks that we cover.
Reflecting on the 20th anniversary of Colorlines and where they came from 20 years ago as really some of the innovators in this conversation around racial justice, as some of the people on the forefront early on when you weren't hearing a lot.
My first memories of Colorlines actually is a beautiful spread they did on Native American fashion. A lot of coverage of Native people is often about our trauma, our poverty, everything that we don't have, and it was a beautiful celebration of a lot of the arts and culture that Native peoples bring to contemporary society.
My first memory of Colorlines was probably when I was a preteen. My mom, when it was a print magazine, had a subscription. Right from its inception, these conversations about Islamophobia and depictions of Muslims, for instance, that it took the majority of media outlets, and is still taking a lot of media outlets, way too long to catch up on. Colorlines has always been at the front and center.
Colorlines was covering what was happening in the 90s with the Clinton administration. Colorlines was covering 9/11. Colorlines was covering what happened in the Bush administration and some of the very, very nuanced dynamics that arose in the Obama administration. And that gives us a lot of context for what's happening today.
What Colorlines brings to the table is a gender and cultural analysis that is missing in mainstream media.
We did a piece about being transgender of color. We've been able to break really important stories that larger outlets might not have known existed or might not have taken a risk on.
If we are going to create the kind of world that sustains all of us, it's incredibly important that we have people of color at the table to tell these stories and to have voices in what the future is going to look like.
We know that we need more independent media, we know that we need more authentic stories, and having places like Colorlines speak these stories directly and in ways that don't necessarily look to lean any agenda, but really just share stories that are happening is really important.
It's important to support Colorlines because the things that we pour our energy and our money and our time into are the things that feed us, right? So if you support media that quite frankly doesn't give a damn about you, what is the message that you're sending? Every dollar that you give, every click that you give to Colorlines is showing that you support media that actually supports you.
20 years ago, we had a vision that we could have reporting that reflected the actual America that we all live in. Colorlines took all of us in the media a large step towards getting there, but we're not there yet, and that's why we need your support so that we can move ourselves to becoming the kind of country that we need to be by telling the stories of people who haven't been heard.